Minister Narendra Modi shares his blog post on reforms, center-state bhagidari or partnership, innovative policy making during COVID times. India makes further progress in the fight against COVID. Daily cases fall below 50,000 after 91 days. Active caseload declines to 6,62,521, less than 7 lakh after 79 days. Historic milestone achieved in India's vaccination against COVID-19 pandemic on 21st of June 2021 with 88.09 lakh doses administered in a single day. 92.20% doses were administered at government CVCs and 7.80% in private CVCs. BJP lashes out at Congress and its leader Rahul Gandhi for playing politics over vaccination. BJP spokesperson Shambit Patra says that Congress should have known that rate of vaccination is least in the states which are ruled by them. He also says whenever something good happens in the country, Rahul Gandhi gets irritated. Jammu and Kashmir National Conference leader Farooq Abdullah meets People's Alliance for Gupta Declaration leaders at his residence, addresses the media. Farooq Abdullah says he will meet Prime Minister Modi and present their stance before the Prime Minister and Home Minister. In international news, US President Joe Biden announces the allocation plan for 55 million of pledged 80 million vaccine doses, approximately 16 million doses allocated to Asian countries. In Euro 2020, Netherlands, Austria, Belgium and Denmark advanced to the round of 16. England, Spain, Croatia and Sweden to play their final group matches today. Namaskar and welcome. You're watching TT News. I'm Sakal Bhatt and the top story at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared his blog post on reforms, center-state bhagidari, innovative policy making during COVID times. And the post was posted on LinkedIn platform. In a blog post, Prime Minister Modi further said that states were able to raise an extra 1.06 lakh crore rupees in 2021, further stating that the significant increase in availability of resources was made possible by an approach of center-state bhagidari or partnership. In May 2020, as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, government announced that states would be allowed to enhance borrowing for 2020-21. Prime Minister Modi said an extra 2% of GSDP was allowed, of which 1% was made conditional on the implementation of certain economic reforms. Prime Minister said this was a nudge incentivizing the states to adopt progressive policies to avail additional funds, adding that the results of this exercise are not only encouraging but also run contrary to the notion that there are limited takers for sound economic policies. The Prime Minister further added that the 4 reforms to which additional borrowings were linked had 2 characteristics. Firstly, each of these reforms was linked to improving the ease of living to the public, and particularly the poor, the vulnerable and the middle class. Secondly, they also promoted fiscal sustainability. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Reforms by conviction and incentives, my LinkedIn post on innovative policy making in the time of COVID-19, powered by a spirit of center-state bhagidari," unquote. In other news, the BJP has lashed out at the Congress and its leader Rahul Gandhi for playing politics over vaccination. BJP spokesperson Shambit Patra has slammed Rahul Gandhi for misguiding through his virtual conference. Patra stated that despite the biggest vaccination in the country, it is Congress-ruled states that have lowest rate of vaccination and highest rate of mortality. Patra advised opposition leader Rahul Gandhi to come out of his virtual world and see the reality of the Congress-ruled states.
कल इतना बड़ा ऐतिहासिक वैक्सीनेशन का पूरा प्रोसेस रहा, किन राज्यों में सर्वाधिक वैक्सीनेशन हुआ और किन राज्यों में सबसे कम न्यूनतम वैक्सीनेशन हुआ, अगर आप इन आंकड़ों को देखेंगे तो सर्वाधिक उन राज्यों में रहा है जिन राज्यों ने श्रृंखलाबद्ध तरीके से अनुशासन में रह के बिना वैक्सीन हेजिटेशन के, मध्य प्रदेश हो चाहे गुजरात हो चाहे कर्नाटक हो, उन्होंने काम किया। और न्यूनतम किन में रहा है? कांग्रेस शासित राज्यों में न्यूनतम वैक्सीनेशन हुआ। सबसे ज्यादा फैटेलिटी कांग्रेस शासित राज्य में, सेकेंड वेव आरंभ होता है कांग्रेस शासित राज्य में, सर्वाधिक पॉजिटिविटी कांग्रेस शासित राज्य में, वैक्सीनेशन होता नहीं है कांग्रेस शासित राज्य में, और ऊपर से व्हाइट पेपर आप हमें दे रहे हैं। राहुल गांधी व्हाइट पेपर छाप करके, वर्चुअल में से निकल करके रियल में आप अपने राज्यों में जाइए और उन्हें ये आंकड़े दीजिए और उनसे कहिए कि आखिर ये क्या हो रहा।
Well, historic milestone achieved in India's vaccination against COVID-19 pandemic on 21st of June 2021, with 88.09 lakh doses being administered in a single day. 92.20% of doses were administered at the government CBCs and 7.80% in the private CBCs.
21 जून को भारत ने एक ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन अचीव किया। पूरे दिन में 88,09,000 कोविड-19 वैक्सीन की डोजेज एडमिनिस्टर की गई। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्टोरिक माइलस्टोन है।
Meanwhile, India continues to ramp up vaccination and the country is inoculating maximum number of population under the nationwide vaccination program. Earlier on Monday, the country vaccinated as many as 86,16,373 people, of which 78,37,141 received their first dose, while 7,79,232 received the second dose. Meanwhile, a total of 28,87,66,201 vaccine doses have been administered in the country, and with this, India administered close to 8.6 million vaccine doses against coronavirus in a single day, which is the highest ever single day number recorded in the world so far, as per the Union Health Ministry. In fact, talking about states giving the details about the vaccination, Madhya Pradesh Medical Education Minister Vishwas Sarang has said that as many as 16,95,592 COVID-19 vaccine doses were administered in the state, while the target was just 10 lakh.
मध्य प्रदेश में कल एक ही दिन में जो मोदी जी की सौगात है देश की जनता को, मुफ्त में वैक्सीन, उसको जनता ने स्वीकार किया और माननीय शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी के नेतृत्व में कल एक दिन में ही हमने 16,95,592 लोगों को वैक्सीन लगाई है। ये अपने आप में रिकॉर्ड है और हम सबको प्रसन्नता की बात है कि हमारा टारगेट तो 10 लाख का था, पर हमने 16,95,592 लोगों को वैक्सीन लगाई।
And we do know that the coronavirus is very much around, but there are many people who are not following COVID protocol honestly. And our colleague Vishal Baristo brought us this ground report a while back, in fact a reality check. And this is from Delhi's busy hub, Chandni Chowk.
I'm here inside the Chandni Chowk market, and we've seen how people, they have the callous attitude. Not many of them are putting on a mask. So let's talk to them and find out why they are not putting on a mask. Let's talk to some of them. I have a gentleman here. We'll talk to him now. As he sees, he is running away. भैया सुनो, क्या नाम है आपका? नाम क्या है?
सर इनसे बात कीजिए।
मास्क क्यों नहीं लगा रखा आपने?
नहीं मास्क मैंने एक्चुअली लगा रखा है, पानी पीने गया था।
डर नहीं लग रहा आपको?
नहीं डर क्यों नहीं लग रहा है, डर का तो सवाल ही है।
तो फिर हाथ में लेके घूम रहे हो। You see, people are not putting it on safely. They are carrying just to show that they are carrying a mask, but they are actually not putting in. The moment they see us, they start running away. क्या नाम है आपका?
सर हमारा नाम विक्की है।
विक्की, आपको डर नहीं लगता था भीड़ में मास्क नहीं लगा रखा आपने?
सॉरी सर।
और आपने भी हमें देख के लगाया, आपको डर नहीं लगता ऐसे?
लगता है गलती से वो नीचे हो गया, बात कर रहे थे इसलिए।
So there you see how people are really not concerned about this menace, this pandemic, and there you see lots and lots of them. It's quite a congested area. people, they are really not bothered why to take on a mask. Mask क्यों नहीं लगा रखा आपने? So the moment you ask them, they put on a mask. There you see, when we ask them why they are not putting on a mask, are they not scared, they'll show off their mask. But many, they are least bothered, and this is a big concern. We've seen how after the first wave people got relaxed and what happened in the second wave. We cannot let this happen, and we have to be very vigilant. So we have all to stand together unitedly in this fight against the coronavirus. With cameraman Anil, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India, Delhi.
Meanwhile, 22 cases of this Delta Plus variant of COVID-19 have been found in India so far. This variant is in the category of variant of interest.
भारत में इसके 22 मामले अभी तक मिले। अभी इसको वेरिएंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट की श्रेणी में रखा गया है और वेरिएंट ऑफ कंसर्न की श्रेणी में ये नहीं है। भारत में जो मामले हैं वो रत्नागिरी और जलगांव 2 जिले हैं महाराष्ट्र के, वहां हैं, और कुछ छुटपुट मामले, ये 22 में से 16 मामले यहां हैं इन 2 जिलों में। आज स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय ने इन राज्यों को एक एडवाइजरी जारी करके ये बताया है कि उन्हें किस प्रकार की कार्रवाई, यानी व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ पब्लिक हेल्थ रिस्पॉन्स दैट Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Kerala should initiate to address this issue.
Well, talking about Maharashtra, it has launched free vaccination for the age group of 18 plus in the state today, and this despite a drop in the positivity rate. Mumbai continues to remain under strict level 3 restrictions according to the city's civic body Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation. Under the level 3 restrictions, both essential and non-essential shops have been allowed to remain open till 4 p.m. while malls, theatres and multiplexes continue to remain closed. Also, only essential services staff and government staff are permitted to travel on suburban local trains. Districts with a 10 to 20% positivity rate and 60 to 75% occupancy rate areas are marked for level 4 curbs, and areas having a positivity rate of 20% and above our occupancy rate of 75% do not see any relaxations. 63.7% of the COVID-19 vaccines were given yesterday were in the rural areas. 71% of the vaccination centers are in the rural areas, and more than half of the total vaccinations carried out in the last few weeks were in rural areas, and this was stated by member Health Niti Aayog Dr. V.K. Paul during the media briefing.
Rural coverage of vaccine has been remarkably emphasized. Rural coverage is intense and a good proportion. जो कल वैक्सीन लगे उसमें से 63.7%, 64% लगभग हमारे गांव में लगे, ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में लगे, और 36% जो है वो अर्बन एरियाज में लगे।
Maharashtra has also been witnessing a sort of decline trend in the New Delhi COVID-19 cases amid this Delta Plus, which is a new COVID-19 variant, has been found in samples collected from the state. Maharashtra Health Minister Rajesh Tope has said that 21 cases of Delta Plus variant, which is considered highly infectious, have been found in the state. Of this, 9 cases were reported in Ratnagiri, 7 in Jalgaon, 2 in Mumbai, 1 case each in Falghar, Thane and Sindhudurg districts. The state minister added that 7,500 samples from different parts of the state were collected and sent for laboratory testing. These samples were collected since 15th May and their genome sequencing was done, adding that the contacts of the patients are being traced and tested, and information on the mutation of Delta and Delta Plus variant is being scrutinized. And let's continue with some more COVID updates. India has reported less than 50,000 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. The country has reported 42,640 new cases, with the active caseload declining to 6,62,521. The country's active caseload is less than 7 lakh after 79 days. The daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 40th consecutive day. As many as 81,839 patients were recovered during last 24 hours. So far, a total of 2,89,26,838 patients have recovered across the country. Recovery rate has increased to 96.49%. Weekly positivity rate remains below 5% and is currently at 3.21%. Daily positivity rate too is below 5% for the 15th subsequent day, which now stands at 2.56%. India has substantially ramped up testing for COVID-19 in the country, and as per the Indian Council of Medical Research, as many as 16,64,360 samples were tested on Monday. So far, more than 39,40,72,142 samples have been tested for COVID-19 across the country. In more news, World Health Organization will be reviewing the data of Bharat Biotech's COVID vaccine Covaxin on Wednesday. In this meeting, a decision may be taken on enlisting Covaxin for emergency use. Visiting foreign countries for people who have taken Covaxin jab would be easier if Covaxin finds place in the list of WHO. But before that, Subject Expert Committee of DCGI will be reviewing the phase 3 data of Covaxin today. And let's get you some news updates from Jammu and Kashmir. Political developments there. Jammu Kashmir National Conference President and former Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah today met members of the People's Alliance for Gupkar Declaration at his residence in Srinagar earlier today. This meeting was convened ahead of the all-party meet convened by Prime Minister Modi on Thursday in the national capital. Addressing the media after today's meet, Farooq Abdullah said he will be attending the all-party meeting on Thursday to put forth the Gupkar Declaration's stand in the meeting. Farooq Abdullah is one amongst the 14 political leaders invited for the all-party meet.
वज़ीर आज़म की तरफ से दावतनामा आया है और हम उस दावतनामे में जाने वाले हैं। वहाँ पे हमें उम्मीद है कि हम अपने जो मौक़िफ़ है उसको वहाँ पे वज़ीर आज़म साहब और होम मिनिस्टर साहब के सामने रखें।
The alliance of 6 parties in Jammu and Kashmir, includes Jammu and Kashmir's 2 mainstream parties, National Conference and PDP. Moving on, Jammu Kashmir government has decided to cancel this year's annual pilgrimage of Amarnath Yatra due to the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic. However, devotees can attend the morning and evening Aarti online. Also, on the traditional religious rituals will be performed at the Holy Cave Shrine as per past practice. Decision was announced by Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha after discussions with Sri Amarnath Shrine Board. The 56-day yatra was scheduled to begin from twin routes of Pahalgam and Baltal on 29th of June and culminate on 22nd of August. And this pilgrimage was also cancelled last year due to pandemic. Union Home Minister Amit Shah is on a 2-day Gujarat visit. On the second day, the minister planted sapling at Sindhu Bhavan Road in Ahmedabad. BJP National President JP Nadda today inaugurated a meeting of national office bearers of BJP Kisan Morcha at party headquarters in New Delhi. The office bearers will discuss various ways to inform people about the pro-farmers policies of the central government. Senior party leader BL Santosh, who is a general secretary also in charge of the organization, and Bhupendra Yadav attended the meeting. Prime Minister Modi will be interacting with the participants of Toykathon 2021 on Thursday by video conferencing. Now, Toykathon 2021 was jointly launched by the Ministry of Education, WCD Ministry, MSME Ministry, DPIIT Textile Ministry, INB Ministry and AICTE on the 5th of January to crowdsource innovative toys and games ideas. Around 1.2 lakh participants from across India registered and submitted more than 17,000 ideas for this event, out of which 1,567 ideas have been shortlisted for the 3 days online Toykathon Grand Finale being held from 22nd June to 24th of June. However, due to the COVID-19 restrictions, this Grand Finale will have teams with digital toy ideas, while a separate physical event will be organized for non-digital toy concepts. Toykathon 2021 is aimed at boosting the toy industry in India to help it capture the wider share of the toy market. And now let's move on to some international news. US President Joe Biden has announced the allocation plan for 55 million of pledged 80 million vaccines. Of the 55 million doses, 41 million will be shared via COVAX. The country will be sharing approximately 16 million doses of COVID vaccine in the month of June with Asian countries besides India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Maldives, Bhutan, Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Laos, Papua New Guinea, Taiwan, Cambodia, Bhutan and the Pacific Islands will be getting the vaccines. Nearly 10 million doses of vaccines will be allocated for Africa to be shared with countries that will be selected in coordination with the African Union. President Biden says he has promised that the US will be an arsenal of vaccines for the world. In Brazil, deaths due to the COVID-19 have surpassed 500,000 on Monday, and it has now become the second country to pass 500,000 COVID-19 deaths after the US. Hundreds of people in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro cities illuminated candles for those who died during the pandemic in the South American countries. Protesters mourned the deaths and demanded the resignation of President Bolsonaro over his mishandling of pandemic. Notably, only 11% of the Brazilians have been fully vaccinated. Last week, new confirmed cases in Brazil accelerated to more than 70,000 per day on an average. After Brazil, let's talk about Colombia, where deaths due to COVID-19 have passed 100,000 mark. Record numbers of coronavirus infections and deaths were reported in recent weeks due to low availability of medical supplies. ICU in major cities operated at near full capacity. Despite the peak, government has lifted many of the restrictions in a bid to bolster the economy. However, the government blamed weeks of anti-government protests for extending this third week, which began after Easter. Meanwhile, Colombia has administered over 14.9 million vaccine doses, of which more than 4.7 million are second doses. The country hopes to vaccinate over 70% of its population by this year. The World Health Organization has said that it is setting up a technology transfer hub for producing mRNA COVID-19 vaccines in South Africa, which could start manufacturing doses in 9 to 12 months. The WHO chief made the announcement aimed at boosting vaccines access across the African continent, where cases and deaths had increased by almost 40% over the past week. Pfizer and BioNTech, along with Moderna, are the main producers of COVID-19 vaccines using mRNA technology.
Today, I'm delighted to announce that WHO is in discussions with a consortium of companies and institutions to establish a technology transfer hub in South Africa. The consortium involves a company called African Biologics and Vaccines, which will act as the hub both by manufacturing mRNA vaccines itself and by providing training to a second manufacturer called BioVac.
Turkey will further relax restrictions imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19 from next month. Limited live music performances and concerts will now be part of a planned easing of restrictions. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said that Sunday lockdown and night curfew will be completely lifted from 1st of July. Meanwhile, public transportation restrictions will also be lifted and public institutions will return to normal working hours. Turkey began easing curbs in recent weeks, limiting the lockdown to Sunday and opening restaurants to a limited number of guests. After daily cases began to fall from a peak above 60,000 in April, officials also hope to further accelerate the vaccination program to revive the economic growth. Pentagon has said that the U.S. military could slow down its withdrawal from Afghanistan due to the gains made by the Taliban insurgents. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby has stressed that President Joe Biden's deadline of a full withdrawal by September remains in place, but added that the pace could be adjusted based on conditions. Pentagon officials said last week that the withdrawal ordered by Biden in April after nearly 2 decades fighting Al-Qaeda and helping government forces battle the Taliban is around half completed. At the time of Biden's order, around 2,500 U.S. troops and 16,000 contractors, mostly U.S. citizens, were in the country. The Pentagon has already turned over several of its key bases to government security forces and has removed hundreds of cargo plane loads of equipment. The First Lady of Brazil, Michelle Bolsonaro, has attended an event organized by the Indian Mission in Brazil to mark the International Yoga Day celebration. And let's get you now some sports. News. We're going to talk about the Tokyo Olympics and the qualification for the Tokyo Olympics with an Asian record throw of 21.49 meters in the Indian Grand Prix 4 at Patiala by Tejinder Pal Singh. Well, his best performances have been 21.49 meters, a national record battered the Asian record of 21.13 meters as well as the qualifying mark of 21.10 meters. The 26-year-old previous his best was 20.92 meters. He's the 11th Indian to qualify for Olympics in the track and field. He sealed the Olympic berth with his opening throw of 21.49 meters. And with that, it's time to wrap up this newscast. Stay tuned to DD News for more. Namaskar.